So, straight after Kabbalah Satira, let's get right down to some serious learning. We are continuing סימן, העזר סימן חובוב, סעיף בייס. Okay? It's a small sa'if. We want to try and finish this Siman this week. Today and possibly tomorrow we will focus a little bit on sa'if base. Okay? Anybody want to volunteer to read and translate?
Yeah, I can try.
Go for it, Sammy.
So Aleph, right?
No, base.
Base.
We did Aleph.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Ouch.
Yeah, go on.
אם הכניס אישה לחופה, אינה מתקדשת בכך, ויש אומרים שהוא ספק.
Oh.
So if one brought his wife under the chuppah, a woman under the chuppah,
Yes.
that's not yet Kiddushin.
Correct.
And there is an opinion that says it's a safek.
Oh, very good. So, let me give you the background. So let's be very clear. We are talking about chuppah acting as a form of creating Kiddushin. Now, I have to be careful what I say, because, as will become clear a little bit, it's a bit of a Machlokes. It's not so simple what the dissenting opinion is. You do know, of course, that there is two chalokim. There is Kiddushin, also known as, it has another word.
No.
Erusin, thank you. Kiddushin and Erusin are synonymous, and there is a second stage which is called Nisuin. We will learn. The moment we're learning, says it on the tin, Hilchas Kiddushin, right? So we will learn much later on. Siman Nun Hey, I think it is. We'll talk about chuppah, what chuppah is, and what exactly it does, and that's a big Machlokes Rishonim. Our question at the moment is chuppah a valid form of creating Kiddushin or Erusin? That's the question. So this is a Gemara. Well, the Mishnah says, Ha'isha niknes b'shleisha dvarim, b'kesef, b'shtaru b'biyah. The Gemara asks a question on Daf Hey, minyono lim'utei mai. You have a specificity here. It says a number. Shloisha drachim. Why does it have to say three? Just say Ha'isha niknes b'kesef, b'shtaru b'biyah. I can count. Minyono lim'utei mai says Rav Huna, says lim'uti chuppah. Sorry, the other way around. The Gemara says it's lim'uti chuppah, and Rav Huna is the one who holds that chuppah is koina, mikal v'chomer. We don't need to go into the Gemara. Rav Huna is of the opinion that chuppah is koina, mikal v'chomer. So the Gemara says that the minyana is lim'uti chuppah. What about, according to Rav Huna, what is the minyana? The number is lim'uti chalipin. Fine. Then later on in the Gemara in Daf Hey Amud Beis, the Gemara discusses how Rav Huna learns out chuppah, whether it's through a mamatzinu or through a kal v'chomer.
Rav, what is chalipin?
Sorry, chalipin is the it has a shvuos connotation. We learnt it. We see it at least in Gilas Rus when you exchange. Yeah. Sholaf ishnar loy. Yeah. Chalipin it's called. Chalipin, right? Kenyan Suda, sometimes it's called. Okay? The Gemara Rava asks two questions on Rav Huna, Abaya answers them, and this is where we stay. So we have one opinion, we have the opinion of Rav Huna that chuppah is koina, and the Shulchan Aruch seems to pass not like that. Rov Rishonim, the majority of Rishonim, I've got a list here, the Bahag, Rav Yehuda Gon, Tosfos, Rambam, the Rosh, the Rif according to the Rosh and the Ran, and it's mashma also from the Rambam, they paskin, chuppah is not koina as far as Kiddushin is concerned, and that is indeed the stam that we have here. Im hichnis isha lechuppah, eina miskadeshes bekach, finished, job done. Trying to use chuppah as a form, as a kinyan of Kiddushin, doesn't work. Now, however, there is at least one important dissenting opinion, and that is that of Rabbeinu Chananel. Rabbeinu Chananel, shekol devar of divrei Kabbalah, as the Rosh always says. Rabbeinu Chananel is of the opinion that, like Rav Huna, that chuppah is koina. First question, does he mean chuppah is koina as Kiddushin or as Nisuin? That's a question. And we also have possibly the Rif according to the way the Ramban understood the Rif. So we have two opinions. And that is the suffix, right? So v'yesh omrim shehu suffix. Shaila for you, Rabbi Say. Shaila halacha l'maisa. And I'm going to bring you actually I came across a fascinating set of tshuvas, chilufei mechtavim, exchange of letters on a story that happened in Eretz Yisrael. I don't have a date on it, but it can't be more than about 10, 15 years old max. Fascinating story. We'll come back to that. Here's a question. Or I could come at this from another perspective, maybe. Also, a shayla I found in one of the Achronim, one of the Heintig Achronim, that here's the shayla in Avnei Choshen. The shayla was as follows. There was a Rav who it seems was not very, didn't have a lot of experience in being Masada Kiddushin, and forgot to tell the Chosan to be Mekadesh the woman with kesef, with a ring. He went through all the rest. He gave the most amazing drasha, he earned his fee, right? You do a search on YouTube for Rav Masader Kiddushin. You'll have lots of wannabes who do amazing jobs, and they speak beautifully, and they do all sorts of, and everybody's crying, and it's all beautiful. But it's a business, so it seems. I didn't realize, but it's a business, and it seems he didn't really know what he was doing. By the way, Kol mi she'eini yodea, as the halacha says, if you don't know carefully what you're doing, Kol mi she'eini gitin v'kiddushin lo yehei lo esek imoim, you shouldn't get involved in it. So everything went beautifully. One teeny little detail, obviously the crowd wasn't too frum, and they didn't do the ring bit. You know, the bit where you stand the ring and then the Harayat Mukadesh, just that bit, teeny, insignificant little detail. Somehow it got lost in all the band and the flowers and the photography and all the other really, really important stuff. It got lost, and bottom line, after they sang a very weepy Yerushalayim and everything, they were just about to go into the Cheder Yichud, and the photographer, this is how it's written, the Salam, the photographer taps the Rav on the shoulder and says, I don't remember seeing, I'm looking over my footage, I don't remember seeing the giving of the ring bit. Oh yeah, good idea. So what he did was they went into the Cheder Yichud, and the Rav and the Eidim, and they went and they gave her a ring, and they'd already given some sort of ring, and don't know what, exchanged rings and stuff, I don't know. And we took away one and gave her back another one. Bottom line, here's a shayla, serious shayla. This actually happened. But here's the shayla. When the Shulchan Arukh says, or I'll give you another shayla, and this is brought in Shuvas Rabbi Kiva, right? And this here's the shayla is brought as follows. What would be if somebody was Mekadosh a woman under the chuppah, but there's a teeny little problem. It turns out that actually the ring was less than Shava Pruta. It just, whatever reason, I don't know.
That's what we discussed last time.
We kind of discussed it a bit last time, but you're right, you're absolutely right, very good. But not from this context. So here's the Shaila. They've done everything, it was great. But there was no Kiddushin Kesef.
The question is of chuppah.
That's the Shaila. So here this comes to you. What do you do? You know, I know. Stam v'yesh omrim halacha kistam. The stam, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, it's job done. Ruba of the Rishonim, paskin. It's not Elam Kadeshes. Yesh omrim, it's a suffix. Not the yesh omrim that it works. Notice, even Rabbeinu Chanal, yesh omrim, it's a suffix. So I would have said, based on this, what do you think? Well, how would you paskin? Just off the top of your head. Just give me, what would you say? Do they need to get? Everything. Do they need to get me suffix?
Wait. Are we doing get or are we doing another Kiddushin? Is the question another Kiddushin?
No, answer your own question. No, you're more intelligent than that. Come on.
Okay, we already passed doing the Kiddushin thing.
So
okay.
we know Kiddushin.
Why is what you said not right? Because one's dependent on the other. Because you can't do another Kiddushin if she's already if she's an Ashes Ish.
Yes, but if she's already an Ashes Ish and the same guy tries to do the Kiddushin, either the whole procedure is invalid, yes, or it is valid, right?
But how are you going to know? In other words, what should you do? What do you do?
From the beginning,
if I repeat the ceremony,
yes,
yes, with the ring, yes. Okay, the photographer says, I forgot the ring. Now they do it properly with the ring.
You would not know what it was. You would know only what it is now after the second time.
So either the first one worked or the second one worked, but either of them worked. No.
Okay, let's say.
That one I would top of my head, like one of them had to work, right? Either the first one or the second one.
That is true. That
I
is
would
true.
think Kiddushin lechumra.
That is true. So what would you do? You would do Kiddushin l'chumra.
Yeah.
You would say,
Because the problem is, I can't. If I make a get lechumra, that gets really messy.
why?
What if a
Why?
Kohen?
Sorry?
What if he's a Kohen?
Okay. No, the thing is as follows, because the Yesh Omrim says that I can't paskin. No, I'll tell you why. Sorry, you got me. No, it's good. That's what this is all about. This is awesome. The Yesh Omrim, if you say Miskadeshes Misafik, it means she might already be Miskadeshes.
Yeah.
Right? She's a suffocacious ish.
Of the same guy.
That could be. But she's a suffocacious ish. In other words, not Yesh Omrim that it works, and we have a suffix. Yesh Omrim, the whole situation is a suffix. You can't give Kiddushin to a woman. Okay, you're going into a slightly different technical area. Giving Kiddushin to a woman who is a suffocacious ish. The way the shaila is asked in the poskim, I take your point, but the way the shaila is always put in the poskim is legabay a get. So let me put it to you this way. So back to our shaila, what would you suggest is her status?
I
Go on.
I know stories from Israel when I was younger. They used to be in Bnei Brak.
Yeah.
Children who used to do it like it was fun.
Kiddushin,
They used to
that's
give,
all, yeah.
All of these things, like with the law,
Yeah,
they used
yeah.
to give it. And usually they would they would make like, afterwards, they would give her a get.
Again, correct. Yeah. Sadly, these Kiddushin Schaik,
Yeah.
unfortunately, do
But
happen,
even
and they
less,
create.
Even less than Pluton. That's what it was sometimes about this idea.
Right.
But what I'm trying to ask of you, and we'll go back to the Rabbi Kiva Eiger in a minute. The question really here is as follows. So, off the top of your head, how would you paskin?
Get. No.
Kobe, you're very quiet. What would you paskin?
No, I would say no.
Come on, you have to have an opinion on the basis of what we've learnt. I'll tell you what I would paskin.
On one hand, we could say, no, she doesn't need anything because this whole situation is... Meaning there's no one that says, there's no Yesh Omrim that the Kiddushin works.
Correct.
So we could say, okay, so Rov of the postgame say it's not valid, so why should she need a get?
Yep.
But on the other hand...
Yeah. Is there on the other hand?
No.
We have the klolim of the Shulchan Aruch. Stam v'yesh omrim. It's very clear where the Shulchan Aruch sympathies lie. Halacha kistam. And that's it. Halacha kistam. Game over. It's 99% of the Rishonim. He's paskin. Eino miskadeshes. Finished. Yes? That's what I would have said. That's what I would have said. The problem is...
Although there's probably other methods of foundations which are not kesef, which it could be based on instead of the ring.
We're talking about chuppah.
I know, but we said she can either mekadosh through a star or kesef.
But she wasn't mekadosh through star.
I don't know what the
The Yibchud which came out.
So it's not. So okay.
Right, so maybe there's something else.
Yichud. What is yichud? We're going to have to see.
Right. So there might be something else which it can be based on this. It's not
So lemaisa halacha lemaisa. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. So I would have said before I saw this, I would have said that. No, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. The problem is halacha lemaisa. The levush and the Aruch HaShulchan paskin that we give it mishum chumra de'eshes ish. You have to give a get misafik. Chumra de'eshes ish. You do have to give a get misafik. Now, what's going on over here? Let's try and work out what is going on over here. We need to fill in a little bit more detail, and then I'll tell you a story. Okay, but before we do that, we've got to do a bit of work. Pischei Tshuva. My friends, we have to learn some Pischei Tshuva. Okay, I'll guide you through it. It looks quite long. It's not that scary. I'll guide you through it, but you need to follow with me because I'll go quite fast.
The Shulchan Aruch says she needs to get the Chumrah.
No, you tell me no. What does the Shulchan Aruch say? And no, Aruch HaShulchan. Not to be confused. Aruch HaShulchan. Yes? Rav Epstein, father of the Torah Tmima, yes, who was considered, before the Mishnah Berurah came along, by the way, he was the posek. He was considered to be the posek in the litter. He was the posek. He was the go-to halacha l'maisa, the Aruch HaShulchan. Okay, we're now going to learn the Pischei Tshuva. I'm not sure whether you have any exposure to learning Pischei Tshuva before. You have? Good. Okay, awesome. Good. I don't need to explain to you. The Pischei Tshuva is an incredible work, pre-computers. He wrote it in his 20s. His first Madura he wrote in his 20s. He must have learnt and absorbed hundreds of Tshuva Sfarim. He then wrote a second Madura in, I think, his early 30s. And in between, he gained access to the Tshuvas of the Chasam Sofer. And you can tell the difference between the two Maduras is that it's in brackets. And that's where you'll always find the quotes for the Chasam Sofer. It seems it was got printed in between, so it gives you sort of a sense of the timing. Anyway, an incredible anthology. Weiter. He was a grandson or a great grandson of the Ponim Meiros. He often refers to his Zayda, the Ponim Meiros. Let's have a look at the Pischei Tshuva over here. So it's Pischei Tshuva Sif Cotton Gimel. Okay, it's on Sif base, Sif Cotton Gimel. V'yesh Oimrim Shehu Sofek. So on the V'yesh Oimrim Shehu Sofek says the Pischei Tshuva, Ayin b'Sefer Shar HaMelech, one of the important achronim. The Shar HaMelech b'kuntras chupas chasanim sheherich b'inyan zeh v'kosav lahoichiach shegam das Rashi zal kain hu da halacha k'Rav Huna u'kedas Rabbeinu Chananel. V'gam hatur nira shedat is halacha sh'divrei Rabbeinu Chananel. The Shar HaMelech, have you got it, Daniel?
No.
Pischei Tshuva. Find the right Sa'if. Yeah? Pischei Tshuva. Okay? The Pischei Tshuva quotes the Shar HaMelech, who learns that Rashi holds like Rabbeinu Chananel. So we've just stacked the odds slightly. Okay, he holds that the Rashi holds like Rabbeinu Chananel. That what? That Chupa is koina. And also he says it would appear that the Tur is it wants to take into account the opinion of Rabbeinu Chananel. Rabbeinu Chananel, even though his father, the Rosh, did not go along with Rabbeinu Chananel, mikol mokoim ihu choshlei. He does take it into account. And therefore says the Shar HaMelech, given that we have now Rabbeinu Chananel, Rashi, and apparently the Tur being sympathetic to it, it changes the whole landscape, and we do have to take it into account. So the Shar HaMelech is coming after the Shulchan Aruch and changing things a bit. V'sham b'siv daled, and then here we have a few more details, a few more shilas. V'sham b'siv daled kosav da'afilu Rav Huna leka'oma elo d'chupa koina hainu l'shavye arusa. When Rav Huna who is the one who said in the Gemara that chuppah does work, he only meant that chuppah would make Kiddushin. V'loi shegomer l'shavya nesua. Not that it would make the woman into a nesua. V'chein hudas shut pnei Yeshua huva b'seif Yeshua's Yaakov udeloike maharsho zal b'shmaitzin Machlokes maharsho and the pnei Yeshua, it seems, whether when Rav Huna, who is the opinion who said that chuppah is a kinyan, did he mean it's a kinyan only vis-a-vis Kiddushin, or did it also consider Nisuin? Fine. Shekosov Rabbeinu Chananel kashem shekoin kach goimra af betchila. Deze einoi. So it's a machlokes. V'nela mimenu divrei hatoisvus perek habali vimtoi, says the Pischei Tshuva, or says the Shar, he's quoting the Shar HaMelech. You're always in these long things, you always have to keep track of where we're up to, who's actually saying what. He said, this is the Pischei Tshuva, quoting the Shar HaMelech, who's commenting on the Maharsha, and siding with the Pnei Yeshua to say that the Maharsha, Ne'elam Mimenu Tosfos in Yevomas, who holds that Rav Huna, who says chuppah is kaina, it's only kaina for Kiddushin and not for Nisuin. Fine. We can move forward. Then our next shaila is as follows. Skip one more line. V'sham b'sif gimel kosav delfi mashanu cheshishim l'svaros Rabbeinu Chananel lavdav kibibsula kain elu adin almona. Next shaila, that this would apply possibly also in the case of an almona, chuppah of not just of a besula, but chuppah of an almona. Even though you could say that there are various reasons to learn that it may be different, I will spare you the details, the difference between the Kal V'chomer and the Mehatzad. Mikol Mokim Yeshleim Esvaros Rabbeinu Chananel would work even by an almona. That's point number 2. You can skip about 4 lines and then go to V'sham b'sif daled. And the next shaila is im kidsha alidei chupa ba'oida nida im yesh lochush likiddushin. The next shaila is as follows: what would be chupas nida, right? Would we say those that are chayash, that chupa does work? Would that be the case even when she's a nida? What's the difference? The difference is as follows. By the way, we're going to learn much later in Siman Nun Hey what exactly is chupa. What is chupa? And in case you think that you know what chupa is, I'm going to show you later. We may not get to it all today. So Machlokes possibly between Reb Moshe Bransdorfer and Reb Osher Weiss, what chupa is. Not so posh. We're going to see later. I mean, there's lots of shittas in the Rishonim. What is chupa? But one of the opinions in what chupa is that it is yichud hara'oi lebiyah. And given that she's a nida, maybe chupas nida is not going to work. So therefore, maybe Rav Huna, who says chupa does work, maybe it won't work in the case of nida. That is, says the Shara Melech, he's chayker, and he he ends off by saying, I'm not too sure. Ef shaloimar, I've skipped about 6 lines, ein tzarich lochish l'kiddushin klal. It's not clear. And that is really all we need to take away from this. So what extra have we seen? We've seen in this long Pesachei Tshuva, and I'll give you a summary of it, but we've seen here that the Shar HaMelech tips the scale slightly in favor of the opinion that chuppah, we should be chayish that chuppah is something, because he brings Rashi into the mix as well, and possibly the Torah, and therefore the Shar HaMelech says we should be concerned that maybe chuppah does work. He says possibly this may also work with almana, not just with psula. With chupas nida, it's not so pashut. And the last thing I want to show you, go to the next Pesachei Tshuva Sif Cotton Dalad. It's a one-liner. Kosav b'dogel mervava. Who knows who wrote the dogel mervava? Glosses Gilyanus on the side of the Shulchan Arach. It's important, you do need to know this. The Dogel Mervava is the Noida B'Yehuda's Ha'oras on Shulchan Aruch. Okay? Noida B'Yehuda. Kosav B'Dogel Mervava V'zel Shaynai V'hainu B'Besula Aval B'Almona Ayin Siman Samchdal and Sifei Ad Kan Shaynai. So what's the Dogel Mervava telling me? The Dogel Mervava is saying that even Rabbeinu Chananel would be moida when it comes to an almona that chuppah isn't kind. Okay, so those are the basic ideas that we need. Let's now have a look. Let's now begin to have a look. I want to tell you a story. And this will bring out some interesting Lomdisha ideas about what we've just written, or about what we've just learned. So bottom line, what have we learned? We have learned, basically, the baseline halacha would appear to be that chuppah is not a kinyan, chuppah is not kiddushin. That's the stam of the Shulchan Aruch. There's a yesh omrim that it might be a suffix. It seems mishum chumra de'eshes ish. There are the opinion of two very important achrein. Well, the levush right back at the beginning, and the Aruch HaShulchan. That if it does happen that we've got a kinyan of chuppah, we should treat it as a suffix and be matzrich a get misafik michumra de'eshes ish. Okay. Now let me tell you a story. And I haven't been able to work out. Oh, here it is. It's really recent. This, I didn't realize, because there's a series of tshuvas going backwards and forwards here. And I'm nearly through, I pretty much finished it. This is in 2019. This is really a recent thing. Now, and I need to give you a little bit of background. I don't know whether you know, have you ever been in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim, you have sometimes may have seen the, I suppose I should be careful what I say, because I'm going to put this on YouTube as well, but we're going to be slightly less polite. But you may have seen, you might think that you wandered into downtown Tehran in some streets or some where you have women who are covered head to toe. They're burqa women. Sometimes they're called. Sometimes they're known in Hebrew. I think they're called a kat hashalim, as in a shawl. Kat hashalim. Now, not going to talk about them per se, other than to note, and this is something that one of the things that they do. This is documented, and this is the Maisa, this happened in 2019, the following story. They marry off the children incredibly young, which is illegal. Talking about, the story over here was a 13-year-old girl. It was a 13-year-old girl. What happened was as follows. This sect was holding a chuppah v'kiddushin, of a 13-year-old girl. For obvious reasons, it was done secretly, and the police found out. And during the chuppah, they broke up the party, and they all fled. They all ran away. I don't know who they did chap. They didn't chap. That's not the point. The point is as follows: the shaila then came to Moshe Bransdorfer, one of the big Gdolei HaPoskim in Yerushalayim, a Moitz in the Badatz, the son of Mayor Bransdorfer, the Knei HaBoisem, one of the big poskim. Is a get required? Is a get required or not? Reb Moshe Bransdorfer, it seems, and this is where I've only been able to trace back I'm sort of working backwards from a tshuva that Reb Osher Weiss wrote to Reb Moshe Bransdorfer, arguing with his psak, and then there is a response to Reb Osher Weiss's tshuva and Reb Osher's response to that, which is what this is in Tshuvas Ochos Ketana. And we'll take out the bits that are relevant for us. There are other shilas over there. I'll read you maybe the first paragraph. Kibalti lenochen. This is Rabbi Weiss writing to Rabbi Moshe Bransdorfer. Kibalti lenochen is hatshuva shesholach elai elidei talmidi or Rav Yonason Dorfman. So Rabbi Moshe Bransdorfer must have sent Rabbi Weiss a tshuva about B'maisa Habish, this bad story. Shenisu lahasi yalda bas yud gimel shonim in bachur tzair. They tried getting this 13-year-old girl married. Sheiskansu hachoygigim b'chashai. They did it secretly. Hamishtara partzal l'makom hachupa upizra es hamamad va'otzra rabim. They arrested many of those that were there, including the kala. And the father of the kala who wasn't there, nafshoy b'sheilosoi ha'im bitoy haktanot tzricho get. Shaila is, does this little 13-year-old girl require a get? So some of those that were there gave testimony. Some of them say that they dispersed and the police burst in before he managed to be mekadosh the kala. But he's worried that they're saying this because they don't want to indict. Because if they didn't do it yet, then all they've got is intent. But if they say that maybe the truth was that really they did the chuppah, they were 3/4 of the way through the chuppah. But the reason they're saying that he wasn't mekadosh yet was to make life easier, so they haven't really done the crime yet. So can we rely on them? They're scared because of the police. So what is the halacha? Yes?
What about the 18? Should we?
They're not reliable to the police.
This is exactly the question. It seems that we're unable to get clarity as to at exactly what point
even from the 18 themselves.
That's what it seems. Yeah.
Okay.
So Rav Bransdorfer paskend umalas kvei terose pasek the vadait tzarich lachshish lekiddushin ulahatzrich get peturin. Rav Moshe Bransdorfer paskend that misofik you do need to require a get. Uledati ho'aniya, says Rav Osher Weiss, ein hadava kain. I don't agree. Ve'ein lahatzrich get va'avair, and I'll start explaining Parshas Adah. So there's two bits to this, and I'm going to miss out. There's two halachic foundations upon which this controversy is based, and we'll miss out the one which is not relevant for us. Okay, a chazaka of an eshesish, if she's nichnas ala chuppah, what's called chuppah, etc. That's a really, really interesting one. Siklim ala chazaka, it's a separate topic. But here we get to the other bit, which is absolutely directly relevant to our Sa'if. Baruch Hashem v'otzah hachachma. Did research and came across it brings it alive. It makes it and in so doing we also reveal some the approach of the Achronim, and this is a live topic. It's really literally 2-3 years ago. Okay, let me get to the bit which is relevant for us. Okay, so. So he deals with the first issue, which we're gonna leave alone. So Moshe Bransdorfer said we have to take into account the opinion of the Rabbeinu Chananel, the halacha karav huna, the halacha who says that the halacha is like Rav Huna shechupa koina. That's what Moshe Bransdorfer said. That's one of his reasons to require a get, because maybe the halacha is like Rabbeinu Chananel, that the yesh omrim here that it's a suffix. Says Rabbi Osher Weiss, Hinei. Kosav b'shulchan Arach even Ezra simin chavav siv beis im ichnis yeshul chupein amis kadeshes bekach v'yeshem shu sofik harei lo shesosam de'ein chupa koina. It's very clear. The Shulchan Aruch Paskin chupa is not koina. V'shuv hevi yesh omrim de chupa koina. V'yodua beklole hapsika de bestam v'yesh omrim halacha keshita kamoi. The halacha is like the first opinion. Elo sheyesh min haposkim shehechmiru latzricha get mishum chumra de'ish esish ken kosav halavush v'chein hu ba'orach hashulchan. Okay? But ach kva hevi kvod teirose es divrei hagon Rabbi Kiva Eiga. Moshe Bransdorfer quoted a tshuva from Rabbi Kiva Eiga. De'ein ze elo b'mi shehiskaven lekadesh b'chupa. Rabbi Kiva Eiga, and this we're going to see is going to become a ding-dong. It's going to become a machlokes between Rabbi Moshe Bransdorfer and Rabbi Osher Weiss, how to understand the truvas of Rabbi Kiva Eiga. And I didn't want to elongate this because I could turn, you can turn every sect into a few shiurim, but we need to make progress as well. But we'll spend a little bit of time on it. That's why I didn't print this out, because, more than happy to give it to you if you want it. So he says as follows. Rabbi Kiva Eiga says in Shuvas, this is how Rabbi Moshe Bransdorfer interprets the Tshuva of Rabbi Kiva Eiga. That when do we say somebody who has had kavanah to be mekadosh b'chuppah, then we say maybe there's a chashash sofek. And then you have the levush or the Aruch HaShulchan that maybe it's a gazon, maybe it's a sofek. That's when somebody had kavanah to be mekadosh b'chuppah. Aval ha'mechaven, says Rabbi Kiva Eiga, according to Rabbi Moshe Bransdorfer. Aval ha'mechaven lekadosh b'tabas kedarkoi shalaylam. Somebody stands under a chuppah and you stop them and you say, what are you doing? What's your kinyan? My kinyan is a kesef, it's a ring. But if for some reason u'b'soif le'kidsha, ein chosheshin le'kiddushin af shechnisa le'chuppah. So Rabbi Moshe Bransdorfer quotes the Rabbi Kiva Eiga as saying that the only case I would ever be possibly concerned that there is a kinyan here with chuppah is when you had kavanah to be koina with chuppah. But if you had kavanah to be koina with kesef, and for some reason the kesef didn't work, and that's all you're left with, it's not going to work. Of course not. Udvarav brurim upshutim ve'in mokim lefakvik be'em klal de la'olam ein kiddushin elo midas hamekadesh v'hamiskadeshes. The Kiddushin only works when you have das from the Mekadosh and the Miskadeshes. V'loi hiskavnu eile ela l'shkiddushin kesef b'tabas kedarkei shel olam. Here they only had kavanah for kesef. V'yiseiru mizu kosav agon Rabbi Kiva Eiga. Dein choshen l'kiddushin chuppah. And now then he says something else. The truth is even more than this. Rabbi Kiva Eiga says that you only even when they did have kavanah, we're only chayesh for kiddushin chuppah ela ba'omer hariat mekudeshes li b'chuppah zu. You have to say, Hariat Mekudeshes li b'chuppah zu. Aval lo chayshina l'kiddushin chuppah im lo pirish shezeh kavanasei. But if it isn't clear that the intention was to use chuppah, it's certainly not going to work. Ume'olam lo shamanu. Quote from Rabbi Kiva Eiga. Ume'olam lo shamanu de'im achar kisui hinuma o k'sha'omdim b'chuppah im chozrim di yitztarchu get. We've never heard that if after they cover the bedekan or they're standing at the chuppah and they change their mind, it can happen. Theoretically can happen. Standing already under the chuppah and everything just about to do, give it the ring, you know what? No. Would anybody say you need a get? Of course not. Unless you have kavanah to be koine with chuppah, unless you say it, nothing to talk about. Ube'emes, yeseira mizu. The truth is, even more than this, kosav Rabbi Kiva Eiga. Even if chuppah is koina, that's only elo be'ikar chuppah. Then Rabbi Osher Weiss says an interpretation. This is his own interpretation. That when we say that chuppah is koina, don't mistake the word chuppah, because we get used to a word and it has a connotation in our mind. Doesn't mean that it is the halachic essence, identity of what Chazal mean when they talk about chuppah being koina. Ube'emes nira, he says, afim chuppah koina, ein zelo be'ikar chuppah, dahainu yichud, oy haknisa labayis, dahainu cheder ha-yichud, aval bechuppah shenohug lekadesh tachtov, kva bi'arti b'mokem acher. Rabbi Osher Weiss says, as he always does, says, have a look at my other various svarim. The ein ze ikar chuppah klal, it's a minhag ba'alma, it's a minhag, like the Lashon Ramah, ulekula alma eina koina. Uma shehevi midivrei Arman, that which you Moshe Bransdorfer brought minhag. The minhag is shekorin leprisas yiriyah, putting a nice piece of cloth over some poles. That's called a minhag, called that chuppah. And he learns from this that according to the Ramah, this chuppah is koina. That's not what the Ramah meant. He meant that this is what we call chuppah, but it's not real chuppah, halachic chuppah, and therefore says Rabbi Osher Weiss, on that basis, he disagrees with the Moshe Bransdorfer. No get required. Okay?
So the situation we have is that they are under the cloth, but they didn't do the ring. They didn't say the. They didn't.
That's what it would seem.
Yes.
That's what it would seem.
Or maybe they did do the ring and we don't trust it. What's the situation?
It wasn't clear from the way the shaila has been put forward. It's not clear how far they got.
So So maybe he did say Mikudeshusly and did give the ring, or what?
We don't know that they did. It just seems that's not at all clear. But he's responding. That's not the point here. He's responding to this plank of. Whoa. He is responding to this plank of Moshe Bransdorfer's tshuva, which is we can rely on chupa. On that, he says no. That's what we're doing at this stage. I'm missing out other bits as well because they're not relevant for us.
It does seem from that it seems from that what you said is it's not valid anymore.
What's not valid?
No, what you said we talked about the chupa. Because chupa itself, like what we understand nowadays, is chupa.
Correct. So what about the Aruch HaShulchan? What would the Aruch HaShulchan say? That's what you're asking. Good. That's a good question. Okay. And then Reb Moshe Bransdorfer says Reb Osher Weiss quotes him saying another svara. We're almost out of time. Let's just do one more quick paragraph. He says that Rabbi Kiva Eger was talking about a case when he had kavona to be koina with ring, then you say eina koina b'chuppah. But what would be if a chosen who had charota and he wasn't mekadosh b'kesef? But our case, why are they there? If you would ask the chosen and the kala, why are you there? And they'll say, we're there to get married. Now the police have broken in the middle. What do you think they want? They want to be married. That's an interesting assumption because they're little kids and I don't know. But let's assuming that they do want to be married to each other. Whatever. Let's say, either because they're brainwashed or whatever reason. If they are, then maybe that's a different story because they don't know the intricacies of halacha. He wanted to be Mekadesha, and we're assuming that she agreed. So if they didn't manage to do it one way, then maybe he would assume that the Kiddushin would work another way, with the chuppah. This is what Moshe Bransdorfer wants to say. Tomorrow we will go into his Reb Osher Weiss's rebuttal and do it in a little bit more detail and finish off this story and see what happened halacha l'maisa.